All right, so for 14 and 15, we're doing x and y intercepts. So that's where you're going to solve for either x or y when you change the other variable to 0. So for x intercepts, we're going to change y to 0. So for number 14, it's going to be 4x. Let me get my pen here. So we got 4x. All right, technically this y is going to change to 0, so it would be minus 0. So we're just going to get rid of it. So it's 4x equals 4. All right. Then we would just get rid of that 4 in front of x by dividing by 4 on both sides, which gives me x equals 1. All right, if they ask for this as an ordered pair, remember that's your x value is 1, your y value is 0. Okay, now for y-intercepts, we do the opposite, right? Now we're actually going to be changing x to 0, right? Which means this 4x is going to end up changing to 0. Okay, so remember though, there is a minus in front of y, so that makes this negative y equals 4, right? Because technically, if we want to go back and you want to see how that works, it's going to be 4 times 0 minus y equals 4. Okay, and then when we do that, this is going to end up going away, which makes this negative y equals 4. Okay, now to get rid of that negative, you can either multiply by negative 1 or divide by negative 1 on both sides. So I'm just going to divide by negative 1 on both of these. All that does is change the sign, right? So the negative goes away, y equals, okay, and then here now we have negative 4. Okay, which means if I wrote this as an ordered pair, that's 0, comma, negative 4. Okay, so I'm going to do the next one a little bit quicker. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So again, to solve for x-intercept, change y to 0. So this 8 minus 8y just essentially goes away. So now we have 12x equals 24. Okay, and then I would need to divide by 12. I'm sorry that this is kind of slow. Divide by 12. Ooh, that did not work right. Divide by 12 here. There we go. Divide by 12. Okay, that cancels out, so I get x equals 24 divided by 12, which is just 2, which would be, again, ordered pair would be 2, comma, 0. Then, when I do y-intercept, I just change x to 0. Remember, again, there is a minus sign in front of that, so that makes this negative 8y equals 24. Okay, and then from there, we would want to get rid of the negative 8. Remember, this is a negative 8. So when I divide, I need to make sure I divide by negative 8, not just 8. Okay, because I want to get rid of and cancel out the negative as well. So that gives me y equals, and now here, 24 divided by 8 is 3, but I have one negative, one positive, which makes this negative 3. So then my ordered pair would be 0, comma, negative 3. Okay. Now for 16 and 17, all we're doing is just graphing a vertical or horizontal line. So this should be super easy, right? So when you see y equals negative 2, remember y values are vertical, so that might make you think it's going to be a vertical line. But technically, when it says y equals negative 2, that means on your graph that you're going to draw, you want every single point to have the same y value of negative 2. So the only way that works is if I go to negative 2 on my graph, which is going to be down 2 from the origin, right? So I go at the origin, I go down 2, and then it's literally just a horizontal line straight across that y-axis, all right? Put an arrow on each end, bam, done. Okay, for x equals 5, again, x does go left and right, so that might make you think it's horizontal, but again, I want every x value to be the same on this graph. So the only way for that to happen is if it goes vertical, right? So I go from the middle of my graph, I go to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I'm just going to draw a line. It's going to be kind of weird because it's right at the edge of this graph here. I'm sorry, mine's not perfect, but you know, you get the gist of it. Okay, so that would be x equals 5, just a vertical line. Okay. All right, so let's scroll down here. All right, so now we're going to be working on writing linear equations given a point and slope or given 2 points. So it kind of depends on the question. So in this case, 18 and 19, they give us a point and a slope. So what that means is, since they give us a point and a slope, we can just plug that straight into our point slope formula. If you don't remember what that is, that's that y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm going to plug this in. So we get y. So y minus, and then our y1 is this -7, but remember that's net minus negative, so I'm going to change this to +7 equals, and then we have m, which is our slope of 3, so m times x minus, and then our x1 is this x value, -4, which means I'm going to change this to +4. Okay. So, and I need to close my parentheses here. Now my next step is to go ahead and distribute this. Okay. So I want to take this 3 and distribute it to each of these values. Okay, so that gives me 3x, and then 3 times 4 is 12, so +12. Okay, on the left side, we don't change anything yet, right? I only want to focus on one side at a time. Okay, so now my next step would be to then get rid of that +7 that we see over there. So I'm going to do -7 and -7. Okay, those cancel out. I get y equals 3x is not going to change at all, so it's still 3x. The only thing that's going to change here is 12 minus 7 is 5, so I'm going to put +5, and that would be my answer. Okay, number 19, we're going to do the same thing, right? I'm going to do that one a little quicker. So we got y minus -19, so it's going to be plus, or sorry, I said 19. 9, right? So y minus -9, which is going to change this to y plus 9, equals, our slope is -5/4. Okay, and then in parentheses, we got x minus our x value of 8. Okay, and then again, same thing as what we did before. Distribute my -5/4 to each of these. So on the left, again, nothing changes, y plus 9. Okay, I get -5/4 times x, so it's just -5/4 x. And then the trickier one is here, right? Negative times negative, so this is going to be positive. And then 5/4 times 8. Remember, you're only multiplying the 8 times the numerator, so 8 times 5 is 40. So I technically get 40/4. 40 divided by 4 is just 10. So this is really just plus 10. Oh, that did not look right. 10. That's a little better. Okay. Then last step, same as before, right? I want to get rid of that 9, so I'm going to subtract 9. Subtract 9. Okay. So those cancel out, so I get y equals -5/4x, and then that is +1. And again, I'm sorry that this doesn't look fantastic. Okay, this is just different software, so all right, so I'm going to clear this out so I can scroll down a little bit more. All right, so let's do these two. So now the difference is, now on these two, they don't give me the slope, so my first step is actually going to be solving for my slope, because I can't do the point slope formula without a point and a slope. So that just means I subtract my y values, so I got -2 minus -9, so I'm going to change that to +9, over, then we got 4 minus -3, which means 4 plus 3. Okay, so -2 plus 9 is 7, over 4 plus 3 is 7. Well, that's simple, right? 7/7 is 1, so my slope is 1. Okay, so when I plug this into my y minus y1, right, it keeps my slope pretty easy. So y minus, when you do your y1, it really doesn't matter which point you choose. You can choose these first ones here. You can choose this pair here. As long as you choose it by a pair, that's all that really matters, right? So In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and use my first numbers here, right, because it's fine. So y minus y1, so that's actually going to change this to plus, because that would be negative 9. So it's y plus 9 equals, my slope is 1, so I mean I could technically put 1 in front of this, times x minus, and my x value is negative 3, so that changes it to plus 3. Okay, now, you technically don't really need to do this, but, you know, just for sake of doing consistent steps, I would distribute a 1, but that's not going to change anything, right? It's just going to make this y plus 9 equals x plus 3. Okay, because times 1 is literally doesn't change anything. Okay, my last step is going to be to get rid of that 9, so I'm going to subtract 9 on both sides. So that gives me y equals x. And now, positive 3 and negative 9 makes negative 6. So y equals x minus 6. Then I'm going to do the same thing on number 21. So subtract my y values. Maybe this time I want to put this y value in front, right? Which means this x value will have to be in front of the bottom. Hey, but maybe I want to do it that way, right? 7 minus, and then I have negative 5, so minus negative makes this plus 5 over negative 2 minus 6. So on top, 7 plus 5 is 12 over negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. Okay, if I simplify this, all right, both of those can be divided by 4, which would give me 3 over 2. And then I still have one of them as negative, so it's negative 3 over 2. So that would be my slope, negative 3 over 2. So I'm going to do the same thing, plug that into my into my point slope formula. So that is my y minus, and again, your y1 can be whatever number you want. I'm going to just use the first pair again because it doesn't really matter. So y minus 7 equals, and now I have negative 3 over 2 times x minus, and now this case would be minus negative 2, so I'm going to change it to plus 2. Okay, then I need to distribute this negative 3 over 2 to each thing inside the fraction, or sorry, each thing inside the parentheses. So I'm going to bring down my y minus 7, because that's not going to change yet, equals, so I got negative 3 over 2x, and then negative 3 over 2 times 2, well, 2 times 3 is 6, okay, so that's 6 over 2, or negative 6 over 2, I should say. And then that's going to make this 6 divided by 2 is 3, so minus 3. Then my last step is just getting rid of that minus 7 by adding 7 to each side. Okay, so those cancel out. I get y equals negative 3 over 2x. And then negative 3 plus 7 is going to be plus 4. Okay, and that would be your answer. Okay, so now let's go ahead and scroll down here. Okay, so now we're working on parallel and perpendicular lines. Okay, so the first two questions kind of just making sure you understand how they work, right? So describe the slopes of parallel lines. Well, if you remember from our notes, parallel lines, right, they have the same slope. And I'm sorry that this is being slow. It's not really writing very well. Same slope. Yeah, don't even try to read my sloppy handwriting with this because it is not working very well, but it's doing its job at least. So, and then describe slope of perpendicular. Remember, that is negative reciprocal slopes. Which, if you don't remember what that means, hey, oh goodness, now it's doing that zooming in thing again. Alright, zoom back out, reset my zoom. Okay, so if you don't remember what negative reciprocal means, right, negative reciprocal just means the opposite sign, and then you flip it. So negative reciprocal. And you're just going to have to deal with that because that's the best it's going to get, I guess. Slope. Oof. And that's it for those.